You know when you plan a day on the ocean and you wake up super early, it's still dark out. You get everything packed into the vehicle, you jump in the vehicle and you head to wherever the boat is, and it's raining cats and dogs. It's not what the forecast said. Wind is blowing, you could have swore it was going to be the best day ever. Well, this morning pretty much started out like that. And we actually had the conversation of maybe we might have to cancel. We eventually reached the beach and decided, well, we're still waiting on Chris and Saif, which is two of our friends that are coming spearing with us today. Might as well do something. So we ended up sharpening our tips. And in the space of maybe 30 minutes to 40 minutes, the weather turned around completely. Blue skies, the ocean was flat, calm, no swell. And it just looked like it was going to be an epic day. We got all of our stuff in the boat and we headed out to the first spot. We hit that first spot, jumped in the water, and I decided, hey, I'm going to jump in the water without my gun. I'm going to dive down, I'm going to see what the conditions are like, going to see if they have any fish around. And we're just going to find out if we're going to stay in this spot or not. As I jump in, it's quite clear to see that the surface is actually pretty dirty. But once you break through that first 10-15 feet of dirty water, it was really nice below. I hit the seafloor, not much snappers around, which was actually unexpected. However, I did see this barracuda in the distance. I came up to the surface and I shouted out the guys. I was just like, yo, it's not much fish around. They have a couple of barracudas around. And I hollered at Gregory to come in the water with me. I was like, hey, you want to shoot a barracuda? They have a few around, let's see if we get one. On this first drop, Greg's was unsuccessful with hunting this barracuda. And I'm just going to lightly touch on some of the mistakes that he made. As he came down to the seafloor, I made a couple of grunts just to get his attention because I saw some barracudas off to the right and I just wanted him to see it. He turned to the right, spotted the barracuda, and he immediately advanced on it. So two small mistakes he made there. Ideally, you want to get to the seafloor and maybe get behind some kind of structure. If you get behind a rock or a ledge or anything that you could hide your body behind, it presents a much better position for you to hunt that fish because you are now hiding yourself and the fish is curious and the fish sees you as non-threatening because you're behind a rock and it's gonna come towards you essentially. The second mistake he made is that he just immediately advanced on the fish. So you never want to do that because you're going to put yourself in a position that looks threatening to the fish and the fish is going to immediately turn away, especially if they're not facing you. So if the barracuda is not swimming towards you, if it's sideways or if it's facing away, all it's going to do is continue on whatever heading it's on and swim away probably. We headed up to the surface and had a quick conversation between the two of us. Kind of told him where I thought he could have improved and yeah, he did it on the second drop. So on this drop, I'm going to point out all the things he did correct. So he's coming out to the seafloor and I give him another grunt because I see a barracuda coming towards him. I find my position and I go behind a small ledge where I know I won't be of any distraction to the fish or Gregory. Get behind the ledge, stay put, and I swing the camera across at Gregory. Immediately you can see he's much lower to the seafloor. So that's one thing that was corrected. Two, he's not kicking towards the barracuda. So he's actually utilizing his momentum from the drop and a little bit of current that they had to move towards the fish without moving his body much. It's just gradual manipulation of the body to guide him towards the fish. The fish, which is out of frame, you can't see, is actually facing him, which gives him an advantage because he can now advance a little bit on that fish, which he is doing using the current and his momentum. He could have his gun tucked a little bit more as he swims forward, but he's still in a good position to get his gun out and to pull the trigger, and he sees that. Extends the gun, barracuda turns sideways, boom, takes a shot, perfect. The barracuda swoops around me and starts to swim around reef, and I just gently guide it away from reef so it doesn't get hung up.
That's a nice one, Gregs.
Gregs gets the barracuda up to him, quickly dispatches it. I think it's really important to dispatch fish in the water because you want to do it, one, quickly as possible because you don't want the fish suffering for any extended period. And two, it's a lot safer because if you throw a fish in the boat with a shaft in it that's full of energy, or even if it has a little bit of energy in it, it becomes a safety issue. You have a fish that has energy, enough energy to throw itself around. It starts beating up in the boat. You have a shaft beating up with the fish and becomes an issue in your boat. It becomes a safety issue. And if somebody gets hit with a shaft, or if the boat is damaged, it's your fault. It's not a mishap because the fish was beaten up and somebody got hit with a shaft and their eye became blind. It's your fault because you put your fish in the boat while it's alive and you created that hazard. So I think it's a really, really good idea to dispatch a fish in the water. You don't have to put a fish in the boat with the shaft in it. You could take the shaft out once it's properly dispatched. Don't take your spare out of a fish if you didn't dispatch it, because if it beats up in your hand, it could get away. That's a good lesson. I've made all mistakes I just spoke about. So I put fish in the boat with them quite alive and they're beating up in the boat and shafts are flying. And I've also taken a fish off my shaft and then tried to dispatch it with my shaft when I should have done it with my knife before and had to beat up in my hand and swim off. So I've made these mistakes myself. We're not all perfect, we make mistakes, but we learn from these mistakes and we progress moving forward. This reef ended up not having too much life, so we decided to pack it up and head to the new spot. Once we got to that new spot, I jumped in the water, loaded up my gun, and I decided to make a drop. As I headed down, I could already see a couple nice dog snappers in the distance. Chris Dennis, which is one of the other two divers he's seen in the distance, he gets a line up on a nice one, pulls the trigger, and gets the shot. I eventually make my way down to the reef and get a shot of my own on a dog snapper. While Chris and myself were putting our dog snappers on the boat, Saif made a drop. As you can see, this nice mutton comes into view and Saif lines up the shot, pulls the trigger.
Huh? Yeah, raise him out to your time, you see him. Nice little water there. Good bacon size, fellas. Nice work. Hey, that's what we need.
While we're on the topic of hunting strategies in this episode, let's talk about dog snappers. I mean, after all, we are hunting them at the moment. So this next video, I actually got my camera on a little bit late. I forgot to put it on its surface. So I'm going to give you step by step what I did, just kind of prep myself, how I went down, how I approached the spot, how I approached the fish, and so forth. So I started up at the surface, took my breathe up, took my time. The water's dirty, so I can't see the sea floor. However, I still have a pretty good idea of where I am and where I'm going. So take my breathe up, make the drop, I break through the dirty water. I see I'm not 100% where I need to be, so I slightly tilt my body and I aim it where I want to go, and I'm just going kind of vertical, not 100% vertical because I'm off the spot, so I tilt my body slightly and I guide myself to the seafloor. Hit the seafloor. Dog snappers are curious fish. They're gonna come to you, but you have to present yourself properly. So you get to the seafloor, you look for a ledge, you look for a crack, you look for a rock, you need to get something to get behind and you get yourself nestled away. When you get yourself tucked away and nice, those fish, they're gonna come to you. Be patient, they will come to you. So you see a couple come up, 4-pounders, 6-pounders, but you don't want that, you want the bigger one. And I can see that bigger one in the distance and I'm just waiting, just be patient. My gun is tucked, I'm still waiting, just keeping myself small, it's gonna give me the shot. Fish eventually comes up. And that fish comes straight up to me and presents a shot that even if you just give somebody a gun and they're the biggest beginner in the world, they wouldn't miss the shot because you have presented a perfect hunt. You have executed everything perfectly, so perfectly that that fish comes so close point blank that even the worst sparrow could pull the trigger and shoot it.
How could this happen to me? I made my mistakes. I got nowhere.
Hey, what you doing there? What do you mean what I'm doing there? What you doing there? I come to move you. Oh, use Brett Thompson. Use our big shutter. You're fooling people. Why not trying to fool nobody? Listen, get out of here. No. Go home. Go home. You're missing point blank shots. Go home. Serious? Yes, I'm serious. Folks, I am truly sorry about that. I apologize. I'll be taking the show over from here moving forward. Let's get to how you actually shoot a dog snapper. Now on this next drop, I've already seen the fish that I want to hunt on the way down. I can see it off in the distance. The camera doesn't pick it up. However, I'm already in the position that I want to be in, and all I'm going to do is sit and play that waiting game with that dog snapper. So this is the angle where the fish is going to come from, and it's in a hole, and I get myself as low as I can. I get the gun on the ground, I get my body low to the ground, I check my 6 because I'm always checking to see if a fish is coming in behind me, maybe a bigger fish or a fish I may want to hunt. But nothing behind me, and just wait, and then that dog snapper does come out to the hole and I advance forward on it. Then it kind of moves off a little bit and I wait a little bit to get my opportunity. Once it presents itself, pull the trigger and get shot. So it's really all about presentation of yourself. You don't want to be threatening to the fish. Fish are curious. They're going to come, they're going to want to see what you're doing. You want to keep yourself low. But fish also give you opportunities to advance on them, but you need to read that play. You need to understand the body language of the fish, just like the fish is trying to assess your body language. Next up is hogfish, one of my favorite fish to eat and one of the easiest fish to hunt in the ocean. They are ridiculously easy to shoot. They don't run at all. They're very curious fish. They're not intimidated by people, and you could pretty much always, at least 99% of the time, if you're a good shooter, get a kill shot on these fish. You just need to be patient. This fish I saw on the way down, and you don't really need any kind of technique to shoot these fish. You could just approach them direct, and they often just let you swim straight up to them. You can see you could exercise a little bit of patience, and you can kind of play with the fish until you get that perfect shot. And once you're happy, pull the trigger. I stoned that fish. However, there were obvious improvements to make on this drop, because you don't want to shoot a fish point blank that's right on the seafloor at an angle where the spear is going to penetrate the floor or hit whatever stone is behind. Ideally, I should have dropped down a little bit lower and got that angle so that my shaft didn't run into the stone. Because what happened is that shaft went in the stone and I got stuck, and I have a double flopper. Double floppers are quite difficult to take out of holes when they go inside, so I eventually dove down and I wiggled it out and I eventually got it free. While I made this drop, Saif had made another drop, but he was on the deeper side of the reef, probably about 70 feet or so, and he lined up a really nice mutton snapper. Now, I've watched some of Saif's videos, and he has a really nice discipline where he doesn't pull the trigger until he gets that kill shot, which is a fantastic discipline to have. Everybody should have that discipline. He hunts a lot like Reese, actually. He's kind of like slow and steady, wins the race. So he lines up that shot and he gets the kill shot, and we put 2 really nice fish in the boat.
It's swimming right now. Yeah. Mutton on the hog. Mutton on the hog. Alright. That's a nice size one though.
A couple of minutes passed and Saif jumped back in the water to make another drop. He unfortunately didn't have his camera on. However, he did do a drop and he stoned an even bigger mutton snapper, putting another impressive shot and impressive fish on the boat.
Wait, this man is your mutton master, boy. This man don't miss muttons. That's a nice fella too. All the way through again. Pull his face clean through. Yeah. Wait, that's a nice fella. That could have been the one I saw though. Nice fish sight. Huh?
You saw the two rip off?
That's so nice, you know.
Eat up for that.
Jump in this boat and hold up that fish there for your partner.
That is a lovely, lovely snapper, sir.
What's that? 10 mutton for the day?
Yeah.
Yes, my boy. Well done. That's a lovely fish. Alright, fellas. Next what?
Please.
That was the last fish off for that drop, and it was off to the new spot. And guess what the new spot had? One of my favorite fish to hunt, Cubera snappers. I was on the surface, got a nice breathe up, headed down to the seafloor. On this drop, I actually met a Cubera mid-water, which is kind of uncommon, and when you do find them mid-water, it's often very difficult to shoot them. I did turn towards the fish and extend my gun for the shot, but I realized I startled it, so I pulled my gun back and kind of allowed the fish to go down to the reef where I knew it should let me get closer. The fish hit the reef, slowed down its swimming, and started to glide off into the deep. I extended the gun, saw the shot, pulled the trigger.
Yes, boy. Good shot, good shot.
A few plates of rice.
Hold on, let me give you the Mr. Bean.
You what?
The Mr. Bean.
Give me the Mr. Bean there.
Oh.
Depths, fellas.
Oh.
Spec about 3 mouths.
Hold on, let me get the shot.
Yeah, get that shot there.
I get every way out of there.
Yeah, commitment. I like commitment.
Now let me and you at least try to find the reef, okay?
There's still had a decent amount of life left on that reef, so I decided to take another drop. Approaching the reef, you can see there's abundance of life. There's a lot of dog snappers, there's triggerfish, there's a lot of smaller fish below as well. But as you can see, there's a nice black grouper in between those dog snappers, and that's exactly what I want. So take my aim and pull the trigger. While I was dispatching my grouper, Greg's placed a shot on a dog snapper, and the dog snapper got caught up in the same hole I shot that black grouper in. Gregory had mostly got it out of the hole. I just made a quick drop and helped it out the last little bit. As I was swimming up to the surface, I saw a pretty large nurse shark cruising the edge of the reef. Must have been smelling that dog snapper because he was coming in pretty fast, and then he slowed down as he reached a little closer. So I got the black grouper and Greg's got the dog snapper, and those are 2 fantastic fish to take home and eat, folks. Greg's and myself put those 2 fish in the boat. While we had those fish in the boat, Chris made a drop, and I think he pinned the biggest dog snapper on the reef, because I didn't see any bigger, but it was a really nice dog snapper.
That is the size, uncle, then. That's a nice fella. That is a nice. That's a doggy. That's what you call a doggy, my friend.
After those couple of fish, it was off to a new spot. When we arrived at the new spot, we made a couple drops and we didn't see too much nice fish. However, we did see 2 dog snappers that were way off at the edge of the reef, and we just kept trying to reposition ourselves to get a little bit closer.
Jump there. So the big bag again, but much further.
Yeah, that way. Let's swim a little bit that way.
Eventually, we did do a drop and it was a lot closer, and we were positioned where we needed to be. I headed down to the seafloor and I did see both of those dog snappers. However, they had so much small fish that I lost both of them. As I glance up, you can see Greg's coming down, and I'm wondering to myself, maybe they moved a little bit closer to him. As I look to the left, I realize that Greg is extending his gun, and boom, he places a shot on a nice dog snapper.
You good? Yeah, guys. Alright, fella. Very nice, fella.
I did not realize that these two dog snappers were so big. It's only when Gregory brought that fish to the surface, I was like, whoa, that fish is way bigger than I expected, because I thought it was like an 8-pound fish. And I was like, nah, well, if your fish is that big, the next fish is slightly smaller, so I'm definitely gonna go down and see if I can shoot that one. I swim down, get down to the seafloor, and sure enough, I see the second dog snapper. Extend my gun, boom, get the shot.
Those red pags are way bigger than I thought they were, both of them. When you brought up the surface, I was like, how the f is that fish so big, Because I was seeing them, I saw them on all the dives now, but I really take it on, like, I'm gonna shoot one of those pags, maybe I'll end up shooting one.
I saw you coming down, I saw you lying on the sand, I kind of just ran off the side to get
Yeah, they were in front of me, I was watching them.
Yeah. And as the ledge was coming up, I turned around, I turned and looked and see it like...
Yeah. I kept looking up in there, I was like, is he seeing it? I kept looking, because I saw the tuna and I was like, if I film from behind you, I'll get a good shot now. And I was like, is he seeing it, boy? And I saw you looking, and like it went all in between the fish, so you couldn't see it now. And then I lost it, so I'm like, where the hell is it gone now? And I see pretty good, I was like, alright, he found one.
That's sand.
Hey! That is a real nice red pagos. Your whole record for a long time ago.
I'm breaking a record today, Self. Woo!
It was really nice to see Gregory land that fish, because that was a trophy dog snapper. I believe it weighed a little bit over 17 pounds on the scale, and mine was about 15 pounds, but a 70-pound dog snapper is a pretty impressive fish, I must say. Well done, Gregs. You did good, Gregs. You did damn good. Now the next drop is Saif, and Saif is clearly, you could tell by now, a master stoner. So he heads down to the seafloor, and a barracuda comes in from the outside of the reef. He lines up the shot, and the inevitable happens. With that barracuda landed, we all jumped in the boat, turned the key, and headed to the other spot. As I was making my way to the seafloor, I saw a couple Cuberas in the distance. One or two of them decided to come and meet me mid-water. Now, just like your body behavior is important to know, it's also important to understand fish body behavior and fish species body behavior. So Cuberas are, generally speaking, they're not very curious fish. Bigger ones, the bigger they get, the less curious they get, in my opinion, from my experience. The smaller sizes, like below 30, below 20, they tend to be a little bit more curious and could present a little bit more opportunities for shots. But when they meet you mid-water, it's kind of hard to tell what they're gonna do. However, one of these fish approached me very aggressively, and it was very curious. It just beelined straight towards me. And because, you know, I could read the body language, I could see what's happening, I knew that fish was gonna come straight towards me, and I didn't need to do much. Like, at all. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't even have to think to pull the trigger. All I had to do was just pull the trigger.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
Well, well, well. Look who playing big shot and missing point blank now. Get up off that seat. Reds, get up off that seat. Is kicks I on, boy? No, I wasn't really being serious. No kicks. Not you cool. Touch now. We cool. We ain't no bonks. You might touch now. It's my show. Nah, I'm taking back my show. We cool. I'm taking back my show. Go on. Serious. Karma. All yeah. That's karma. Right? Man playing, I can shoot dog snapper. Well, he can shoot Cubera snapper. Right? I'll show you how to shoot Cubera snapper. There you go. Alright, so this is the real Cubera technique. You check the boat first, then you check in the water. You twist the gun, you check back out. Make sure everybody there, you check back in. Gregory there, nice. He had to be there, because he need to be the support. Check the time, 12:30, that's Cubera time. There you go. Heading on to the seafloor. Pass through the murk, into the clean water. Look around. What's that? What's this? What's that? Nice Cubera mid-water. Turn away. Don't let him see you looking at him. Look back up. He's slowing down. Wait for him to turn. Wait for him to turn. Slow down. Boom. So you do it. Run for the rocks. Lock him up. Get to. He's skiing. He's flying behind this fish now. You gotta keep him on the hole though. Keep him on the hole. Fight, fight, fight. If you wrap up down there, there's pressure. Good secure holding shot. Hold him till he come off your rock. Nice. You on the next wave? Perfect. Alright, let you pull him off now. Let you pull him off. And that, folks, is how you shoot Cuberas.
Yeah, there's a little bubble in it. That thing looking real small. Wow, I can't even see you. Hold on.
Nice scoop for the boys.
Nice Cubera. Wow, Mike. Wow.
You see what I mean? That thing mid-water, 20%. You go, no.
So that was a pretty nice Cubera to get off of this reef. We did make one more jump. I went in without my gun. I didn't see much anyway. I did try filming some stuff, but everything had kind of left after that. Cubera made a lot of noise and a lot of commotion on the seafloor. So we headed across to the new spot after that fish. On this other spot, I was headed out to the seafloor and I saw a lot of Cuberas again. On the way down, I glanced to the left and I did see a pretty nice black grouper off in the distance. And I did want the black grouper over the Cuberas because we had a good bit of Cubera meat in the boat already. So I had made up my mind that I was probably going to try getting that black grouper. So I approached the seafloor and a couple of the Cuberas off in the distance start to make their way towards me. But you see that rock right there? The black grouper is on the other side of it. What I'm actually doing is that I intentionally went on the other side of the rock and flattened down. And what I'm hoping for anyway is that the black grouper is going to approach me behind that rock. And what we're going to do is both of us are going to swim to the rock because he's coming to see me and I'm expecting him to come and see me because I'm hidden behind the rock. So I'm going to push over to the rock, but I'm still keeping my eye out looking for Cuberas in the meanwhile. So I pushed towards the rock. Sure enough, the grouper had approached me and I lined up the shot, pulled the trigger. Pretty happy for that fish because I wanted a couple black groupers to go with. I really like black groupers. I'm a big fan of it. So when I get a couple to take home, I'm like through the roof always.
Yeah, man. Good Gregs, the black grouper. You have a couple of choices and you end up with the one you want. Blacks. Good thing to take home then, me. Guts coming out anything, boy. Alright, put out the cooler. Let me go for our coops there quick.
Next drop now, same spot. I got my black grouper. Now I'm thinking maybe I could get another Cubera to go home with. I can see a couple Cuberas off in the distance. A couple come close to me. I line up this one here and I pull the trigger.
Coops on the east, fellas. What are you doing? Let me go for them.
Giving the Mr. Bean there.
Mr. Bean? Coops on coops. Your turn, Greg. Your turn, Greg. Let's go.
After getting that Cubera in the boat, decided, you know, that's enough fish from this spot, let's head across to somewhere else. This was our last planned drop for the day, and as I break through the dirty water, I glance across and I can see the two rocks that we normally dive down on. And right on top of them is a nice Goliath grouper and a huge school of black margate. I gently approach the rock, see if I can get some good footage of that Goliath grouper. Nice dog snapper comes in to give me a little close-up. It was pretty much the end of the day, so we started packing up the boat, getting ready to go home. We were still drifting, so Chris was in the water and he made one last drop. Unfortunately, again, we didn't have any camera footage of this, but he landed a beautiful mutton snapper and we ended the day on that fish.
Tell him, let me see. That's a nice mutton there, boy. Nice fella, Denny. I'll bring him in the boat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. After diving 800 feet and thing.
Yeah, I think I'll rest after that 800 foot spot.
Yes, Rex.
Hey, wait. Hey, if that gun slip, it slide, eh? Nice. That is a nice mutton, Uncle Chris. Whoa, 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 whoa. Taken with the roller.
What do you mean?
Right. But that, you throw my bag off. Hey, you no killer.
Go there and explore our spot, boy.
Hey, they gotta explore quick. That's a nice mutton, though. All day looking for one, so wait.
Well folks, I hope you all enjoyed the episode. I know I touched very briefly on hunting techniques. I didn't go into too much depth. However, I do get a lot of questions and requests in recent times, especially about how to hunt fish, where to look for fish, best times, best moons, best areas, all that good stuff. What I would say to a lot of people getting into spearfishing, and there's a lot of local sparrows in Trinidad and Tobago, talking to you all. Before you learn to pull the trigger, please take the time to understand what it means to be a sparrow, what it actually means to be selective. So I've said this in previous videos and I'll say it again. If 5 fish give you an opportunity to shoot them, and you select to shoot those 5 fish, you're not necessarily being selective. Now, if 5 fish give you a shot and you make a conscious decision that I'm going to shoot 2 of those fish because I understand sustainability, I understand if I take 5 fish, they're gonna have less fish next time. If I take 2 fish, I have less impact on this reef, then these are good things to start off with. If you wanna learn how to understand fish behavior, if you want to learn to understand how fish react to your behavior, some pretty good advice is go free diving without a gun. Just go down, scopes it out, take some videos, see what fish are doing, learn fish behavior, learn your reaction and their reaction to each other, see how you'll interact with the water. And that's a fantastic way to start out. So much sparrows are getting into hunting these days, and everybody just like thinks that shooting fish is progress. Shooting fish is not progress. Being selective is progress. Understanding sustainability is progress. Being a safe dive buddy is progress. Looking out for one another is progress. Reaching home safe is progress, right? It's not about going out and shooting the biggest fish. It's not about going out and shooting the most fish. It's not about going out and saying, I have to pay all my expenses and I must shoot enough fish to pay for my expenses and make money. If you're doing that, then you should have a commercial license and you should still practice sustainability. You're not supposed to be going in the water and shooting as much fish as you possibly can. That's irresponsible. We as sparrows, we have a certain amount of discipline that we're supposed to have, right? So everyone, please build that good foundation of what it really means to be a good sparrow. You know, I don't see much footage coming out of Trinidad of people being selective. I don't see much videos of people passing up fish. We have, I'm not boasting there, but like our group of guys who go spearing, I'm real particular with who I'm diving with because we have a very high level of discipline and it took many, many years to get where we are. We didn't have like the best examples growing up, but we're trying to be those examples. And I'm not saying that we are the best examples, but we are trying to be. So please, I'm trying, as well as the rest of the guys that that I spare with. We're all trying to set a good example. I make these videos to show you selectiveness. Like we're not out there trying to show you how much we shoot and how big we shoot. We're just out there trying to share our passion and our love for the sport. And we really want to see this sport thrive going forward. That's why I really want everybody on board with the same mentality, the same foundation. Just keep everything alive, keep everything going, keep that love for the ocean and the environment going. Every time you go and you see, think about it. Be aware of what your impact is. Be aware of what you're teaching other people. You know, it's not always make money, it's not always kill fish. You need to have certain disciplines when you're in the sport. You need to have certain disciplines when it comes to anything to the ocean. But we want to have a good impact, right folks? We want to have a good impact. All right, so I will catch you all on the next one. And I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Peace.